Thank you for taking this moment to breathe and to listen to what can change your life forever. My name is Ragnar Sinikas, and I'm the founder of Starpreneur TV, How to Dominate the Decade talk show, World Women Conference and Awards, the creator of Current Desk, the coach of the Changemakers, and co-author of the Dominate the Decade book. My mission is to empower through education. So thank you for joining us. And today I have the honor to talk with Catherine Matsalla, six-time Ironman, endurance and motivation coach, and soon to be published author. So ladies and gentlemen, please help me to welcome Catherine. Catherine, tell us your story, who you are, why are you in Mexico? So you're Canadian. Why are you in Mexico? Tell us more about you and your life story.
Oh, thank you so much, Ragni. I am so thrilled to be here, first of all. You have hosted so many incredible speakers. I'm in awe that you've chosen me to join in. And I think during this week of all these strong women that I saw the lineup, whoa, and we're talking about resilience. So it's great that you have an Ironman on there. So, okay, let's talk about coming to Mexico. I've been here almost 10 years, but I'll probably start there and then we can talk about what I do. But it's interesting because I was a very successful financial planner in Canada. I was in the top 25 of a group of 3,500 financial advisors and doing really, really well, making good money. I lived in a house with 5 bedrooms, 4-car garage, doing super well. And then I put my house up for rent, gave away or sold 90% of my possessions, quit my job, packed my car, and drove 5,000 kilometers down to Mexico to work at an art gallery for $5 an hour. So I think a lot of people would say, what is going on there? And that probably comes down to my purpose in life, is that I always thought it had something to do with money. I wanted it to be something to do with making money. And I thought having all these possessions and making over 20 grand a month was going to be the solution to happiness, but it wasn't for me. I started with a teaching degree and quit teaching so that I could coach. And it's funny because that was in my 20s and I coached skiing for about 8 years. And then I went into teaching for about 15 and then into financial planning. And then now here I am back where I belong in the coaching industry. And it's funny how you kind of you keep getting pulled into where you should be. Like, it's like I'm a leopard trying to change my stripes or my spots. I'm going to try to be a cheetah. No, this is who I'm supposed to be. And there's many times that in my life that I've been redirected back to where I'm supposed to be, coaching with people and working with them and motivating them. So when I came to Mexico, I had plenty of free time, and I have always been an athlete. It was funny that I didn't define myself as an athlete, even though I was a competitive ski racer. I was a competitive endurance runner with a women's team. I got into triathlon and did very, very well. I never really considered myself an athlete because I grew up watching the wide world of sports, thinking that anybody who's an athlete is an Olympic athlete or they're winning something or they're Tiger Woods or, but no, I'm actually an athlete. And when I had the time, I was turning 50 and I thought, what a wonderful way to celebrate turning 50. So this was 8 years ago now. Was to do an Ironman because I had the time and to train for it because it takes a lot of time. And when you're working, it's hard to find that time to devote to it. So I probably skimmed over really fast why I ended up getting to Mexico and making that huge decision. But I really ultimately wasn't happy with where I was. And that's what really kick boosted me. It wasn't easy. In fact, there was a lot of times that I wanted to go back, home with my tail between my legs. But I stayed, and then I made this career, and it started with training for an Ironman. And I had, and this is what I'm talking about when people say, ask for help when you need it, because I started to train and I didn't know what I was doing. I thought, you know, as a coach and an athlete, I should know what I'm doing. So I read all these books and I started training, and what happened? I got injured. So I had to cancel, and I thought, you better find somebody who knows what they're doing. Because I used to spend hours trying to figure it out. You know, I'd be digging into books and stuff like that and realizing that I really didn't know what I was doing. So that was one of the best things I ever did, was hire a coach. And he didn't, I don't even think he realized how successful I was going to be, because I ended up placing fourth, and I was only 6 minutes away from making it to the World Championships. And I have, ever since Ironman started in 1978, I've just been a huge fan. I've watched every World Championship, and I just always thought there's no possible way I could even do an Ironman, let alone make it to the World Championships. And for those of you that don't know what an Ironman is, they say it's the most difficult one-day endurance sport in the world. So it involves a 3,800 meter swim in open water, a 180 kilometer bike, and then a 42.2 kilometer run, which is a marathon. And, you know, everybody says, how can you do that? How can you do that? But, you know, it's just about training. It's about training, having a plan, getting help, and being consistent. And so when I did so well, then I thought to myself, you know, maybe this is a chance that I can actually make it to the World Championships. If I work hard enough and I train hard enough, I'll be able to make it. So one of the greatest moments was actually crossing the finish line in Los Cabos and in first place. And not that I was fantastically spectacular, I was just faster than second place. So making it to the finish line and having my friends screaming and cheering for me was an amazing moment in my life, and probably a highlight, even a highlight over actually being in Kona. And so going there, and then last year I completed an extreme triathlon in Patagonia in Chile. And that's an Ironman distance race, but in extreme conditions. So we had to go out on a barge in the middle of a fjord at 5 o'clock in the morning in the dark and jump off 20 feet into the water. And the water was only about 10 degrees. And then, so we're fully covered in wetsuit, mitts, booties, everything. And we had to swim. And well, I
survived.
I survived. I'm here to talk about it, but I was the oldest female, and my goal was to finish. I was the oldest female by 6 years. And what happened was I was a little bit slow. I got a little lost and ended up coming around a bend and getting caught in the current, and the temperature of the water dropped. And I literally felt like my arms were jello. It was really hard for me to finish. And when I stood up, there's a picture of me getting out of the water. And first I see my husband's face, who's my support staff, and he's smiling. And then he goes, like, he has this look of fear when he sees me come out of the water. And everybody's grabbing me. I couldn't even stand. I was shaking so hard. My teeth were chattering, like, you know, and I could not warm up. They stuck me in a hot tub, did not warm up, couldn't hold anything. And then they said, okay, you're going in an ambulance. You have hypothermia and your race is over. And no way, no. I did not train all that time and go all that way for my race to be over after the swim. And I said, get me my bike clothes, I'm going. And I know the race official just like shook his head and went, what? And he knew there was no stopping me. He knew that when I was gonna transition into the bike, that was it, I was going. And I sort of had his support all the way through because I was the last person on the bike. I ended up passing a lot of people. I was the last person allowed onto the run course, and I passed some more people, but it was because a lot of people dropped out. Like there was only 160 people finished, and they had enrolled 300. So there's not a lot of people. So I unofficially finished with 2 other guys at 11:30 at night in the freezing weather, but I finished. So I have a finisher's t-shirt, but I don't have a finisher's medal. So that was what I did in December. And now I look back and go, how did I ever do that? But I take all those experiences and I use them to help motivate others. And that's my career right now, is coaching others. It's slowed down quite a bit because there's no races that are out there, but I've got athletes all around the world. I coach them mostly online, and they go from 18 to, I think my oldest is 72 in California, and he won't quit. He's amazing. And anybody who wants to test themselves really through an endurance sport, and it can be as little as 5K all the way up to double Ironman distances and ultra marathons. So I really, really enjoy setting up training plans, connecting with people, and motivating people. So
what do you think, what is the most important about all of that? Obviously, as we all know, like, there's so many moving parts which are very, very important for whatever you do in life, no? Always to have the correct plan with all those moving parts, whether it's sleep, nutrition, correct way to recover, etc., etc. But what do you think, like, what would be the difference if you prepare for whatever other sports and when you prepare for the endurance one? Like, is it the mindset? Is it like, obviously it needs to be something which you will say that, okay, I'm going to survive those, I don't know how long was the distance in that 10-degree water, but it's you just can't go with the preparation that you have been swimming in a swimming pool, no? I assume, or maybe you can. So what is the magic there? Like, how to really prepare differently that you would prepare for any other sports?
That's an awesome question, because endurance sports really is a mental game. And that's what I really enjoy about it. It is all up here. And so to train actually for endurance sport really involves consistency. And I don't think that is any different than trying to achieve any other goal. You have to be diligent. You have to have a plan, and you have to stick with it. You can't wake up in the morning and say, well, today I don't feel like training. I've always told my athletes, make sure you stand at that starting line saying, I have done everything I possibly could to be able to finish. I set myself up to succeed. And this kind of ties into the book that I'm writing right now, which has taken me 7 years, and I'm having a hard time letting it go because I'm standing at that starting line, at that precipice going, did I do everything I possibly could to make this book a good book? And so that's huge, but a lot of the training is about the mind games that we play. And in endurance sports, there's a theory of something called the central governor. And that is your brain that runs everything. So when you're getting into this point of fatigue, your brain wants to shut everything down because it feels your body being tired, you're sore, you're in pain, you're hungry, your stomach's probably upset, your bowels are not happy with you. And it's saying, okay, you're gonna die, so let's stop. And you know you're not gonna die because your heart is saying, I'm not going to die. And it's this battle between your heart and your mind. And if you really have that desire, and I believe this with anything that you do, desire is number one. If you believe and want it so badly, you will do anything to cross that finish line. And so, and it's a constant play in your mind of saying positive things over and over again. If you stand at the start of the swim and you're looking going, oh my gosh, I have like 12 hours of continuous effort. In the Patagon Man, it was 17. It was over 17 hours for me of continuous effort. You do not sit down other than to put your shoes on. And that's a daunting task. So if I stood at the front of a race, at the start of a race, I went, oh my gosh, I'm going to be at this for a long time, I would never even start. you know? And it's like, I'm going to write a book. Well, oh my Lord, what do we have to do to write this book? Or I'm going to start a business. Oh my God, it's a daunting task. So it's about breaking it down. So all I think about is, okay, I'm going to swim to the first buoy. And if I make it there, great, I'm going to swim to the next one. And then when you finish the swim, you're saying, okay, that chapter's done. Now I got to get on my bike. And I don't think it's 180 kilometers. No, because that's going to destroy me. So it's like, make it to the next aid station, a little reward, you know? And you're constantly focused. Like you're thinking, okay, how fast is he going? Okay, I got to go. What is my heart? What am I eating? Am I doing something? So it's not like you can just trip out and like think of something else. You are focused for 12 hours. So it's a mental fatigue as well as the physical fatigue. And you have to practice that. And you go out in training runs and throw yourself into difficult situations. When my athletes used to complain, I would train with them and the winds would be just killing us on our bikes. And they'd be like, Coach, why did you make us train? And I said, because the Ironman's going to seem a whole lot easier because you've done this. So, and a lot of endurance athletes will stick a treadmill and stare at a wall for hours and hours and hours because they're training for the mental fatigue that's going to happen. And so taking it that much further to set yourself up so that when you're actually there, you think, oh, this is not so bad. Like I've done worse. So
it's incredible. You're explaining now the entrepreneurship, because whoever hasn't started with entrepreneurship, this is what is going to happen to you. So
absolutely.
But and you need to train for it the same way. You need to have a coach. You need to have a plan. You need to understand what are you doing and what you shouldn't do and avoid for sure. I got so many messages by asking like, what do you mean by Navy SEAL and shaman? Well, like, did you write it incorrectly? Or I said, no, we're going to talk about it. So let's talk about it now.
All right, let's talk about it. This is huge. So, like I said, when I was first starting to train for an Ironman, I hired a coach, but that's not enough. And I realized, okay, I'm going to read. I'm a huge avid reader, but what resonated with me most was autobiographies, because I didn't want a how-to book. Step 1, do this. Step 2, step 3. I wanted to know how somebody did it and they were successful. So the one person that I zeroed in on at the time was a Navy SEAL called David Goggins. So if you are interested on a book to read, it's called, his latest book is You Can't Hurt Me. And it's just, he's about controlling your brain. And endurance and anything really is about controlling your thoughts and not going into negative territory. Because in an endurance race, if you ever say, well, I don't think I can do this, game over. You are forced to say, yes, I can do this. Yes, I can do it. The greatest advice somebody ever told me, who wasn't even a runner, before my first Ironman said, just put one foot in front of the other. And I kind of rolled my eyes and I thought, yeah, right. Okay, that sounds so simple. But you know what? That's what it came down to. In the deepest, darkest moments, it's never allowing your brain to go into that dark spot. You wipe those thoughts out of your head and you put one foot in front of the other. And that's all that it takes. And in those dark moments, when the doors are slamming in your face and you can't seem to get anything done, keep looking at your positive affirmations that you have plastered everywhere. I had them written on every mirror in my house, in my bathroom mirror, in my bedroom mirror. You can do this. Not you can, you will do this. You are an Ironman. And it was positive affirmations everywhere. So I trained my mind to always think, because as soon as you go into that dark area, you know, your central governor's going, okay, well, let's just be safe, because the comfort zone is where you live, right? All the magic happens outside that comfort zone, and it's painful out there. It's a challenge, and it's so easy for us to stay comfortable. So that's my Navy SEAL. He was huge, because Navy SEALs, they don't deal with, like, there's no excuses. You do it, and you do it, and you do it, and you do it over until you get it right. And that was a huge lesson. So I listened to a lot of his motivational tapes all the time. And it's interesting, I wonder if he would even know how much of an influence he has on people, but I still think about him. I still have that Navy SEAL mentality. I have an alter ego. She's a warrior. And that's who I put on this alter ego when I feel like Catherine can't handle this. Well, my warrior sister can. She's going to step in. And I always think this for entrepreneurs. Just imagine that you are somebody who you admire. Write all those qualifications that you want to have, that are the person that you admire the most, and become that person. Fake it until you make it. So I didn't have all the skills and capabilities. I trained at it, I worked at it, but I also go out training, believing that I am that person. And it's funny, I have a story to tell you. When I was a teacher, a high school teacher, I had this grade 11 social studies class. We studied the French Revolution. Try and convince 16-year-olds this is something they should study. And they didn't even want to be there. It was a second level social studies course, and they were hellions. Can I say that? And I had this class after lunch. I couldn't even eat lunch. I was so nervous because they gave me such a hard time. And I asked my administrator, please come in, just sit in the class and give me some suggestions on what to do. And he came in and he's shaking his head going, oh my God, okay, good luck with this, sister. He goes, and he didn't give me answers. I have credit to that. That was a great mentor. He never gave me an answer. He said, you need to think outside the box. And so I went home and I would turn on the television. There was some game show that was going on. And I thought, I'm going to motivate these guys by making them learn by dividing up into groups, and we're going to play a game and they get rewards. It's amazing what little gummy bears can motivate a grade 11 student. But it was a success tool for me, but also an alter ego, because I was physically like nervous going into this class. And I thought, I can't go in there like this because they're like a pack of wolves. They're going to eat me alive, right? So become the alter ego. And I imagined I was on a documentary as a master teacher and they were filming me and I'm going into this classroom being very, very professional, even though deep inside I was dying. I didn't know, please help me, somebody. But anyways, I solved that problem just by thinking outside the box and becoming who I wasn't. You know, it's the fake it until you make it thing. Boy, am I ever good at that. And then there's the other side of that is the imposter syndrome, which I'm kind of dealing with too, writing a book going, are you really an author? Really? Are you really an author? So I got to get over that, because that's another thing. A lot of people, when they start moving up into more challenging things, think, can I really do this? And you get this feeling that you're just an imposter. Just switch out of that and really believe, create that alter ego, and dive into that. So, okay, so that's the Navy SEAL. Now when it comes to the shaman, so I believe a lot in self-awareness and really understanding yourself. And really, sometimes that means not reading anything at all, just reading who you are. And that means being quiet and listening to who you are. So I'm a cancer survivor, and after I had gone through all my cancer treatments, a bizarre thing happened, and I got this weird invitation to go to a sweat lodge, which is a Native American ritual. And everybody kept saying, are you gonna go there? You're gonna go there by yourself? Why would you do that? And I don't know, something just kept pulling me forward, saying, you need to go and experience this. Oh my Lord. It was such an eye-opener. It is a lesson that I keep learning over and over again. I have actually done an ayahuasca ceremony just a few years ago, and it was the same message that I got. Still personal development and awareness that I have to deal with myself. And what had happened to me, and shamans and these people come into your life when you need them the most. And a lot of us we won't even pay attention to those people. We'll just think, oh, who is that person? But you need to open your eyes, because whether you believe in God or the universe or whatever, the universe sends people into your life for a purpose and for a reason when you need them the most. And if you brush them away, you're going to miss an incredible opportunity. So I went to this sweat lodge and heard and saw some really interesting things I won't get into. But my final sweat, which you had to be chosen to go into, was in this tiny little teepee with this cowboy. Like, he was the shaman, believe it or not. There was a Native Indian shaman, but this was a cowboy. And he had the farmer's tan. He had the cowboy hat. He was all white. He was all white here. And he had this red, because he's out working with the horses all the time. And I'm thinking, and there I was being judgmental. You're going to be the shaman? And wow, 5 hours of him trying to break me down. And he said, I'm going to start crying. I cry a lot. He said, you have built walls. You are afraid of dying. You have built this fortress around yourself. And I'm sorry.
Well, you have survived everything, so you will survive the crying in the air as well, so don't worry.
Everything is right on the surface with me. You get all my emotions are just like always right here. So I would not break down. And that's part of this deep warrior iron. That's why I'm good at Ironman. It's because I don't break down. I refuse to break down, but that is not always a good thing. You put up this front that you're just this strong person, but it sometimes takes somebody else to say, hey, you can't grow until you break down and rebuild. It's like building muscles and strength. You got to do the weightlifting, the strength training, and 24 hours, when you break down those muscle fibers, they rebuild stronger. And that's what I found. Like, I was trying to be so strong through cancer and for my kids and all of those things, that I had really built up these walls. And he was saying, you know what? Hello, you need to figure out who you are. You need to discover what makes you, so that you can build yourself even stronger. And, one of the things David Goggins, the Navy SEAL, talks about is suffering. And it's interesting about endurance athletes, the ones that tend to be better athletes are the ones that have endured quite a bit in their life. They've suffered, and then they're able to say, okay, I survived that, so I can survive this. You draw on those past experiences. And if you have a business that failed, wow, that is just full of opportunity to learn. And any race that I failed, or a training run that didn't go well, what an incredible opportunity. Could you imagine being successful your entire life? Where are the lessons? Like, everything just rolls out like a red carpet? No, you need to trip and fall. Figure out why you tripped. Maybe don't wear those high heel shoes anymore. Do whatever it is that you need to do, so that the next time you're put with a challenge, you have your tools or your cookie jar of success. And I always tell my athletes that when they have had a really bad week or a bad training run, or they even got injured, put that in your cookie jar and save it, so that when you're in that heat of the moment and you need to pull from within, you take that suffering that you've dealt with and overcome to propel you forward. So that's part of the shaman, and that, what the lesson that I learned, take down those walls. I still feel myself building them up. And then I have to go, oh, no, I got to kick a brick out, because this is not working. I want to connect with people. I want to be human as well. And when I did the ayahuasca ceremony, it was the same thing. They tried to get me to relax, let go of this warrior, let go. And it wasn't until later when I let the tears flow. Now they come so easy. and let go and broke down that wall. So that's huge lessons for me. And I hope people can find their shaman, whether it's in their Navy SEAL, whoever that might be.
So you have mentioned throughout the interview many times about your book and having now 7 years writing it and all of that. But what is it your story? Is it the learning points that you have had? What is this book all about?
Okay, I have 2 books actually on the go. And they're both like trains coming into the station right now. So one that is so dear to my heart is it's actually a self-help book disguised in fiction. And it's a story about a girl and her dog. And she's an endurance athlete. And the only thing that her and I have in common is that we both owned a dog named Blue and endurance athletes. But she goes through all kinds of different things in her life. But Blue, the dog, is reincarnated from a past life that they had like a long, long time ago. And he feels responsible for her death. So he never feels he's worthy of being a human again. So he's reincarnated in different forms, and he just is an observer of humans. So he comes into this life, finds her as a dog, and says, this is my mission. I found her, I can finally make amends. So in my book, Blue has a voice, but he's also a dog, so he does dog things. But he has this wisdom. There's actually a shaman and a sweat lodge ceremony in there as well. So that is another thing that we have in common. But you write about what you know. But it's told in first person, so I don't want anybody to think it's an autobiography. But it's kind of taken a life of its own. And how it started was I looked at my dog, Blue, and he used to follow me everywhere. Like, he was like my best friend attached to me. And if you're a dog owner and you have one of those dogs, you know what I'm talking about. And I looked at him and went, oh, you must have been a lover from a past life. And so that's where I got the idea. And so it just evolved. And it really, really I'm just a vessel for these characters. It's interesting because I've always been sort of a storyteller my whole life. I've told my children stories. I have done acting. I studied acting, and I love to tell stories. So this was just a perfect opportunity for me to share my experience and kind of the lessons that I've learned and read about as well. And so that's basically what the book's about. I am finished writing it, but I'm rewriting every sentence practically because I don't want to let it go. I know it's terrible. I know I have to let it go, but it needs to be to the point where I'm comfortable. You know, it's your baby, right? You don't want people to look at your baby and go, when it's really, really ugly, go, oh, it's nice. You haven't, but I want it to be perfect. So it'll probably take me a couple months just to go over it again. And the other book is, I don't have a title for it. It's written, but I can't find a title. So anybody out there who's really good at writing titles, maybe can help me. But basically, you know that it's nonfiction. There was a book a long time ago written called Everything I Needed to Know About Life I Learned in Kindergarten. And it's kind of along the same lines, but I learned in an Ironman. So I kind of sub up, and it's true because everything that I needed to do in order to complete an Ironman is what we need to do in life. We need to go outside our comfort zone. We need to seek a mentor. We need to have a plan. We need to not procrastinate, which is what I'm good at. You need to put a deadline. You need to have a finish line, and it needs to be identifiable. And you can't just say, well, I'm going to do this and just throw it out in the air. No, you need to be accountable, and you need to, keep pursuing this. And it's this consistency. I think consistency is always the key word that a lot of endurance athletes use. You have to every day chip away, and leave no stone unturned.
Oh, wow. I have made so many notes because there's so much that we can really, and it does apply. It's everything from the preparation up to the mindset, up to the way that you, I think obviously you being involved in finances and having that structure helps you a lot as a coach, as a writer, as whatever you do in your life. So it's incredible, and I hope that whoever was watching could also pick up those in between lines, the things which every single one of us can actually apply to our life. And maybe there is like this little tweak that was exactly needed in order to make a change. So before I ask Catherine her 3 recommendations, how to dominate the decade. Thank you everybody who has joined here in Zoom, and everybody who are looking from Facebook. We have people from UK, we have people from Estonia, from India, from US, Mexico, obviously. And I see the questions which are below my profile, Ragne Sinikas. Nevertheless, if you have a question, comment, whatever you want to leave with us, please write them also down below the video if you are watching on Coral Desk, because we go back to there and every single answer and comment will be answered. So don't worry. Catherine, what would be your 3 recommendations how to dominate the decade?
Yay! Okay, I think the first one would be self-awareness. And that's so key. You need to know who you are in order to know where you're going. And I think a lot of people don't understand their purpose until they do a deep, deep dive to find out what they desire in life. And my purpose is still the same that it's always been. And I actually have it here. I wrote this back in 2006. And it's, I am a powerful woman inspiring others to find their inner strength and joy. That's my purpose in life. And I took me a lot of hard work to figure out what that was. And you know, when we talk about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, the very top part is the self-actualization. And I know people are saying, well, that's kind of outdated because there's so much work that's been done as far as, and I don't necessarily think that, but you know, you have to sometimes go quiet to figure out who you are. And, you know, going and, you know, and I used to do meditating. And when I was recovering from cancer in Canada, you kind of get a cancer membership card and you get to take all these courses. And one of them was on meditation. And it never resonated with me because I'm this type of a person. I always thought I was a failure. You mean I can't sit still for 5 minutes and not think? Oh, I'm a failure, I'm a failure. And I didn't want to feel that way. So when I went to this meditation course, they had us walk and meditate. Oh my goodness, I found home. This is awesome. I can walk and meditate. I can actually run and meditate. Those are real spiritual moments for me, is to be able just to go in deep. I still keep moving. I'm not that person that's going to lie quiet. So if anybody's out there felt like they just couldn't empty their mind, that's not necessarily what the meditation, I feel, is about. You know, it is about connecting with the inner self and listening to your body and listening to your intuition. Intuition is huge. And so I think, you know, spending that quiet time with yourself, finding your self-awareness, listening to your body, that's big as an athlete, but getting some insight. So that would be probably one of my my suggestions. The other one would be, and it's kind of a motto that I live with, leap and the net will appear. So many of us just sit back and say, I wish, I want, I dream of. You know what? You gotta just do it. You gotta take that step. And sometimes it's scary. If you're not feeling fear, then you're not doing the right thing. You have to feel fear to know you are on the right path. You have to feel a little nervous to step outside that comfort zone. And believe me, every time I have done it, then things have come into my path that's helped me. The net has appeared underneath. And so what if you fall? You get back up and you learn a lesson, but you must take that leap. That's a big thing for me. The third one comes from someone I admire called Jim Quick, Kwik. He's a really great, I don't know how to describe him. He's one of those guys that teaches you how to remember things. He's a motivational speaker. You can put him in a room with 1,000 people and he'd know everybody's name. He's amazing, and he's written a number of books, and I think the latest one is Beyond Limits or something like that. But this really resonated with me because he says that life is about 3 letters: B, C, and D. B is you're born, D is you die, and C is what happens in between. And that is the choices you make. And every day we face choices. Am I going to eat that piece of cake or not? Am I going to train or not? Am I going to write or not? You always have a choice. And it's so easy to let the easy road take the dominant route. But if you're going to dominate the decade, it's not going to be about the easy route. It's going to be about making that choice to go the difficult route, because that's what's going to lead you to success, not with what you already know and where your comfort is. Writing is a scary process for me, but I still go in and I do it. And Margaret Atwood, she's incredible. When someone asked her, how do you start a book? And she said, well, I sit there with a pen in my hand and I hold it up in the air until an idea comes to me. And eventually my arm gets tired and I start writing. So there you go. You're going to get tired. You're going to be outside your comfort zone and the ideas will come to you. So, and then but she made the choice to start, to hold the pen, and then things will happen. That's what magic is.
Beautiful, very good and great recommendations, and beautifully put together. Thank you very much. So we have a question. What is the hardest lesson you have ever learned?
Ooh, that's a good one. The hardest lesson, I think, is about forgiveness. I hope I don't cry. Forgiveness and letting go. You can't move forward until you are able to forgive somebody who's wronged you. Or we've all go through stuff in our lives, right? And if you carry that pain with you, I don't know what's going on right now. If you carry that with you, you have to let it go. And it's funny because a friend of mine who'd been through like 7 years of therapy, he had a terrible traumatic childhood. And I said, well, how am I going to deal with this? You've been through all this therapy. Help me. How do I figure out how to deal with this? And he said, you know what? You got to let it go. Don't keep going back there. When I was going through cancer, I read Eckhart Tolle's Power of Now. That was huge for me. And you cannot go into the past and you cannot predict the future. And part of that past pain and suffering, how can you correct it? You can never go back and change anything. So if someone wronged you, you got to forgive them. They're human. You have to understand that they are human, that they did the best that they could at that time with what they had. And to be able to let that go and to forgive them was a huge lesson for me. And it was like the weight came off my shoulders. So that's probably the biggest lesson.
Beautiful. What are your hobbies?
Oh, right now, writing, and reading, training. I'm still training. Let's see. That's pretty well my hobby. I would love to be able to say I knit or I sew or I cook, but no, I train and I write and I read.
You don't look like a girl that goes to the really nevertheless, I know that you're very particular with your diet, and I have never seen someone which really has the what would be even the best word to describe it, like
you don't know what lies behind.
I have seen you in some social events, and your discipline, like to even say no to their things, is like remarkable. Because I was just looking at you and I was like, how does she do it? Like, it's really, really. And then I was like, maybe it's just once, maybe she's on a diet now. And then I have seen you in several, and I'm like, oh my God, she's actually like that.
Well, if you talk to my husband right now, there's not a whole lot of discipline going on during this isolation COVID stuff. I have put on weight, and it's like I'm turning to food as I open up the fridge and go, okay, the answers to life are in here. I just know it. I know it. I know it's just going to jump up, make me feel good. So it's been a battle right now. So I counterbalance that with a whole lot more exercise. So I do love food. I have to say that. And I love my glass of wine at the end of the day. So I admit it. Yes, yes.
Well, I know that particularly before the whatever performance you need to do, then you're very careful with sugars. Aren't
Oh,
you?
absolutely.
Then you cut all the sugars.
Absolutely.
That part I remember the last time
Yes.
that we talked about. And we have one more question. What is the milestone you are most proud of?
The milestone? There's probably finishing Patagonia. You know, I've achieved, I feel, well, it will be when this book gets published. I know that. So that's something I'm going to look forward to. I think what was a big milestone mentally for me was just recently was finishing the Patagonia race, you know, determined not to quit and to keep pushing and pushing and pushing. Even though I thought I was out of the race, so I was just doing it to finish it, which was intrinsic. There was no medal, there was no record, there's no nothing, but it was intrinsic because I couldn't let myself live with not finishing something. And that's kind of how I feel about this book. The other thing, a big milestone, it's not even a milestone. What I'm really most proud of probably is raising my children. And they're both, my son's going to be 30, my daughter's 31, and I'm still parenting them. Just like my 98-year-old mother is still parenting me. It never ends. And when I get on the phone with them and I hear the wisdom coming through the phone, I'm so proud that they are becoming these incredible human beings that at one point I thought, oh Lord, what am I going to do with this kid? You know? So all of you parents out there that might be thinking, oh, this is trying times, you know what? You've got to be persistent and you've got to just keep plugging away and have faith. And maybe you do have to do some drastic things sometimes and you know, involve some tough love to push them out of their comfort zone. And so out of everything, raising children is what I'm most proud of. Intrinsically would probably be just that last, you know, the Patagon man. Yep.
So if someone wants to follow you, if someone wants to have you as a coach or just to have some private questions, how can they reach you?
The best way probably is with email. It's easy email. It's getme2cat with the number 2, getme2cat@gmail.com. Or connect with me on Facebook. Catherine Matsalla on Facebook, message me. I have another Facebook group called Iron Cat Coaching and Motivation. So I try to post on there regularly some motivational tips and posts, everything, just trying to really focus on just the positive and training tips and that sort of thing. So definitely connect with me there, email me if you want to discuss anything, nutrition or fitness or just the mental preparation, or just to chat. I certainly don't mind any of that. So, and if anybody is a title for my book, contact me.
I already go to the messenger. I put
okay.
with someone which is very good in that. So
awesome.
Catherine, thank you for your time, your dedication. It has been a very, very interesting interview, a lot of energy. Thank you for sharing your energy, your insights, and all your experience. What would be the final note from you to that the people will have them in mind. So if they think of you, what should they think, and what is your final message to close the session?
Wow, that's deep. Huh. Wow. I think, you know, happiness is kind of an elusive goal that we all go for. It's like this cloud that's up there and we try to reach it. But you know what? The most important thing I think that I've learned is that you will address everything in the moment, one step at a time. And to find happiness or anything like that is right now. It doesn't matter about what will happen like in an hour from now. You will progressively make that step every time when you're thinking right now, what is it that I need to do to move myself forward? What do I need to say to myself? What do I feel grateful for? And that was huge in everything that I've ever done when I look back in my past, is to be able to zero it in to right now. And that's huge. And you are always, just when you think you're at your worst and nothing can get worse, always know that there's somebody worse off than you are. There's always people out there that are suffering more than you. So pull up your socks, tighten your belt, and take that step forward.
Beautiful. So I wrote down something, and I wrote it down with two things in mind. One is that I'm going to do that, and I'm going to do it as a sort of I have done it before, but I haven't done it for a while now. So I'm going to do it again, and I'm not going to look at my old list. I'm going to do the new one, and then I'm going to compare with the old one. So what I want you, who you are watching, to do is write down who you want to become. This was something that Catherine started with, and when she was talking about the alter ego and sweat lodge and all of that. So just take the time, and if you really look in deep into yourself and see that, okay, there's things that I'm not happy with, or there's something that you desire, or there is something that you really, really want to be or become, then write those down. But the next step, what I want you to do is also take action. What do I need to do? And exactly today, the power of now is, what do I need to do today in order to become that person tomorrow? So as always, and as always, I finish my lines with, you today have the chance to change your life. You can become the hero of your life, and you can become the hero of someone else's life by sharing this video, because you never know who might be in need to hear. And maybe there is someone which has so many similarities with Catherine and can relate to, and they will have the aha moment. It's like, oh my God, she just nailed it. And that was exactly what I needed in order to become that person who I want to be. So become the hero, share the video, become the hero of your life, write down the list, and make the action plan. I will see you tomorrow at the same time. Tomorrow, who do we have tomorrow? We have Wednesday. We have a very powerful lady from South Africa joining us tomorrow. So we will be waiting for you at the same place, and have a blissful day. And Catherine, it's always a pleasure, and we will have you back once your books are published.
All right.
So you have a little thing that will.
That's motivation.
Thank you very much, and have a great day.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.